Hi, my name is Eileen, and I'm a recent graduate from the University of Glasgow. I'm presenting my dissertation project on the use of the student partnership approach in the development of GTA training. First of all, who are GTAs? Well, it's these guys, but GTA stands for Graduate Teaching Assistants, also known as lab demonstrators within the School of Chemistry. They are postgraduate students that do part-time work as educators. GTAs are the most neglected educators, I'd say, within higher education, mainly because they are primarily students or researchers. And then after that, they are part time educators. So then the time and resources available to them for their training, for their development, is way less than tenured staff would have. Um, what is the significance and purpose of this area of research? Right. The training of GTAs is an ongoing issue that persists in many universities due to how complex GTAs are as young educators, the range of roles and responsibilities we are required to fulfill at universities, and the resources that are available to meet this goal. So, actually, there's a lot of purpose to this area of research because there are a lot of issues that are quite complex that need to be dealt with, I would say. So, within the University of Glasgow School of Chemistry, there's actually a need for research into the training and support received by GTAs in order to feed into established best practices. There was a lack of data on which to make informed decisions, so for my dissertation project, I sought to investigate the training and support given to GTAs. What makes my work different? Well, most studies on GTA training either discuss theoretical frameworks or evaluate newly developed programs. Existing studies only begin to involve GTAs in the delivery and feedback stage. Whereas I'm saying actually no, we need to use a student partnership approach where we consider that GTAs are fit to ascertain their own training. And actually, now we start to involve them in the development stage of GTA training and support programs. Right, so this is a great diagram taken from the Healy et al. 2014 paper on the student partnership approach. I highly recommend you read it because I think it does a much better job of explaining what a student partnership approach looks like than I will go into in my presentation today. But what I do want to tell you is why should we bother with a student partnership approach? Well, first of all, we need to consider students as stakeholders in their own education. But actually, they are the largest stakeholders in their own education. They have the most to benefit and also the most to lose from education that's not fit for purpose. In that case, we should also consider students as co creators in order to put them at the forefront of their own learning. Part of this is having systems of reciprocal feedback. So, where it goes both ways, the student gives you feedback and you give them feedback. Um, but also that whatever feedback is given should feed into existing systems in order to be effective. So, this is the feedback loop. Um, Finally, we also want to encourage self-criticism, which leads to enhancement. Asking people, well, what is it that you struggle with, or what is it that you could be better at, is a form of self-criticism, which ultimately leads to enhancement. GTAs should be active participants in their own learning, so we should consult GTAs when developing their training programs. So here are some benefits of the SPA for GTAs. The number one benefit I would say that you guys should all be interested in as academics is the efficiency benefits of cost and also resource efficiency, because what we're basically saying is that you don't need to overhaul your whole training program. You can just consultatively develop and patch things that need to be fixed. The next is that it gives students ownership over their own learning, which I would say is quite important. It also improves outcomes, as in leads to more successful training and more successful meeting, I would say, of the learning outcomes that you want. And overall, it creates more competent and confident educators. My methodology? Well, first I conducted a literature review, and then I sought ethics approval from the School of Science and Engineering. I engaged in a consultation with the head of GTA training, students and staff, in order to develop my questionnaire. I delivered this questionnaire to the GTAs, which was my data collection stage. Finally, I conducted data analysis in order to understand my results. So the results, I thought they were really great. Our sample was 9 people, which made up 11% of the overall population. We asked some questions based on different areas, such as roles and responsibilities, training, feedback, support, and resources, and they could also raise additional comments at the end. On this page, I've included some of the highlights. It was encouraging that some GTAs wanted more responsibility in the teaching labs. This is encouraging, and doing so would align with the professional and personal development requirements for postgraduate universities. So, not the ones set by the universities, but also by external funders. In the section on training, I found it quite worrying because there was no consistency in how the participants rated the utility of the training they received or their preparedness immediately after receiving training. It is clear that some people's needs were not being met with the existing training. For the future, GTAs wanted continuous training and training on specific lab teaching related skills, for example, spectroscopy. This was not currently being delivered by either of the training programs in place within the University of Glasgow or the School of Chemistry. Looking at the section on feedback, one thing that's important to note is that within the School of Chemistry, there is no formal feedbacking measures for GTAs. So given that, we found out that nearly all GTAs were interested in receiving feedback on their work. Feedback is an important part of learning and development, and ongoing reciprocal feedback facilitates this best. In terms of the support and resources available, in our school, there are also no formal or informal support measures available specifically to GTAs. Whatever measures are available are mainly for them as students, I would say, which makes it then not completely tailored to the role that they're, engaging in. So when asked where they prefer to seek support from, they responded that they prefer to seek support and advice from their peers. Unfortunately, this is an unsustainability issue, as GTAs are not a reliable source of support because of one, the turnover of talented and experienced GTAs is relatively short, around like 3.5 to 4 years. And also that turnover may not be staggered because you might have a very big intake, which results in a big exodus of GTAs at some point in the future. On the flip side, tenured staff have a much greater ability to develop and implement support measures as they have a long viewing horizon into the situation and can ensure that knowledge sharing occurs. There were also some other comments. Some of the GTAs cited issues with remuneration and workload, and there was also one instance of high cognitive load. Within one of the labs in the school, it seemed that there was an unnecessary amount of stress put on GTAs as they were made to rotate through different experiments on a weekly basis. This meant that instead of learning how to teach well, the GTA's focus was now on catching up every week with a new area of chemistry that they had to teach, on top of their research and personal demands. Overall, the majority of results were implementable and gave us a lot of information on what could be improved in the future. What I would say is this is just kind of a snapshot of some of the interesting results we received, but we were able to gather a lot of information on the picture of what a GTA training and support looks like at the School of Chemistry through my research. Well, what next? So we're now in the implementation stage of the key recommendations that I compiled from my investigation. I hope that my work provides inspiration to other educators who are hoping to make a difference within the area of GTA training and welfare. What I'll say as well is that I thought this was a really handy way to do things, really practical and efficient manner to decide what to develop. So if anyone who's watching this presentation would like access to the questionnaire that I prepared or would like to discuss some of the ideas I put forward in my presentation, I'd be more than happy to talk about it. Now, Another thing about the future is that unfortunately COVID-19 has thrown a spanner in the works as it has caused great uncertainty for GTAs due to social distancing restrictions in labs. Now more than ever, they need our attention and support. If you have any questions regarding my work or presentation, please feel free to contact me or Dr. Ojeja for additional information. Thank you for your attention, and I hope that you got something useful out of it.